Let's take a look. So that's a guy that's seen him play in person. Take a look at the Super Bowl odds. This is from BetMGM. The Browns started this at plus 4,000 before they acquired Deshaun Watson. Now they are plus 1,600. You got the Bills, Bucks, Chiefs, Packers, Rams, and 49ers are the only ones that are viewed as more likely to be the Super Bowl winner. This is to win the Super Bowl. Browns there with the Cowboys, Broncos, and Chargers, and they are the favorites to win the AFC North. So, Quincy, when you look at it, adding the guy that is a quarterback makes everybody better, makes the team a legitimate threat in the AFC. We're saying the same thing last year, so I get that. This time, you got stability, or in theory, you got stability and quality play from the quarterback position.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I've always been on the team of, look, if you got a guy that you could spend $50 million on, you would more than happily do that at the quarterback position, because a good quarterback fixes so many of your flaws offensively and sometimes even defensively, because they could just score the football, right? Because when you have a good quarterback, your wide receivers are just going to magically be better, right? Your wide receivers are not going to be as bad anymore. When you have a quarterback, your offensive line going to look a little bit better than it actually is, right? Like, these are the things that a good quarterback can just improve upon just because he's there. And that's what you have in Watson, right? The Browns had some flaws on offense, and those were flaws with Baker Mayfield as a quarterback. Because Baker Mayfield, while he was okay, he wasn't a good enough quarterback to where he could cover up flaws that an offense has. Deshaun Watson is that good to where, hey, look, you might not have a lot of wide receivers, even though we have enough now. But even if you don't have a lot of wide receivers, Deshaun Watson's good enough to make it work. If your offensive line's a little shaky, he's good enough to move around and make it work. Like, he can make this work. He can manipulate defenses, and then that run game is going to be great as well on top of it. So again, it's going to be very hard for any team to win a Super Bowl in the AFC for the next 5 to 10 years, because just given the talent that's in this conference. But you now have a real shot to do it, right? Like with Baker, you were hoping that you can get lucky, some injuries could happen, and maybe the gauntlet could be softened up, kind of like how it was for the Bengals this year, where they didn't really have to play a quarterback to the AFC Championship round. With now the Browns, you don't really have to hope to get lucky. If you're the 7th seed, you feel like you can get to the Super Bowl. If you're the 1 seed, you feel like you can get to the Super Bowl because you feel like you have the guy who can get you there. Now, he still has to prove it. He has not done it yet. Like, he still has to prove it. But there's no reason to believe that he's not capable given a roster that's good enough.
The other thing is he has not played with an offensive line that is as good as the one he's going to play with the Browns. So that should Deshaun Watson's got to be thrilled with the Browns' offensive line, because the Texans' offensive line was challenged at times.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to the decision making for the Browns, I mean, there's the one story where they just showed him tape. All you got to do is say, hey, Baker Mayfield had like 2.8 seconds on average to throw the football, right? Like, that's just what was going on with Baker Mayfield. That's how much time he has had throughout his career, that his pocket time is like 2.8 seconds. And Deshaun Watson, he ain't never seen 2.8 seconds before in his life in the NFL. So that's one of the big factors in there, right? Yeah. They have that level of pass protection. And also, his life can be made easier, right? He does not have to throw for 300 yards for this team to win football games. He might be able to get away with a couple of 100-yard games just because he has Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who could just take over the game, because teams are terrified to stack the box. Well, terrified to stack the box when Deshaun Watson is out there at the quarterback position. It's just one of those things where it's like, this goes from an offense that was super easy to defend last year, where teams were just stacking the box, sometimes even putting 9 in there, and just daring Baker Mayfield to beat them. And that's how the teams played them, and it was very successful. To now, what do you do, right? Like, all of a sudden, this became a whole lot more difficult to defend. And it ain't because they did a lot of moves. It's because they made one move in particular that has made this whole thing a lot more difficult for defenses to defend. And that's really how this is going to go down, right? Like, that's the biggest difference, is that defenses are now going to be a little bit more hand-tied. And then when you have that, And if hopefully if your defense can play at a high level and get decent field position for your quarterback, then all of a sudden, you're looking at a team that has a strong chance to be a championship contender.